Environmental Protection Commission meeting for Thursday, August 15, 2024. At this time, will everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation? Invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner Cepeda. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning with thanksgiving. We thank you, mighty God, that you have created the heavens and the earth. And we thank you and for the Environmental Protection Commission. Lord, we just thank you that you give them wisdom and knowledge to continue protecting their precious, everything that you've given us. We're so thankful. And we just thank you for this meeting. We ask you to bless this meeting in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Shannon, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, Commissioner.
No removal items either? Recognitions or proclamations?
No, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Can we go right into public comment? We have a public hearing regarding the rulemaking today. If a member of the public has comments for the rulemaking, please hold your comments until that portion of the meeting. All other public comments not related to the rulemaking can be given to the first comment section. Do we have anyone that's here that wanted to speak besides on the rulemaking?
Commissioner, before we get to that, I think it'd just be appropriate to have a roll call because we do have some virtual attendees. I apologize.
Yes.
For the interruption.
And I would read in, let's have a roll call and then I read in the comments.
Miller?
Here.
Myers?
Here.
Cameron Cepeda?
Here.
Cohen?
Here.
Hagan? Hagan? Kemp? Kemp? Wostel?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to just read in the comments. We heard from Commissioner Wooster. I'm notifying you that I will be present but virtually on this morning for the meeting. This is from Commissioner Kemp. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing great. Commissioner Kemp will attend the first hour of the meeting virtually and will come in at 11 a.m. for the in-person quorum. Thank you. Okay. And with that being said, we have no public comments. We'll go to removal of the...
No, Commissioners, apologize. The four people are signed up for public comment regarding the final order proceeding on the front end of the meeting. I apologize for the confusion.
Okay. We have Paul Hill. Each will have 3 minutes. If you can come forward for public comments, please.
And just a reminder, no new evidence should be introduced today. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have been a long-time resident of this area. I've lived in my house 34 years opposite to this subject property. And as I spend a great deal of time outside every day, I have seen it in all its incarnations during that period of time. I have personally seen the water running off that environment from the springs and wetlands that are there. That's it, folks.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Excuse me? My name is Paul George Hillis.
Okay, Linda Pappas. Linda. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
You can speak.
I have exhibits 20 through 26 videos that are on the screen presented at the hearing of running water in Wetland 1 that continues to run along the wastewater lift station into Wetland 2, the Hillsborough River, Abigail Bridges from the EPC, 1 month on the job, under oath at the hearing said she never saw any of these wetlands in the videos of 611 North Rome Avenue. How can she make a decision on something she's never seen? Being a neighbor of 44 years next to the property 61 North Rome Avenue, I have been friends with the former tenants and have been on this land many times. If you fill in wetland 1, it will affect wetland 2, which is only divided by a city property line. And you can see here wetland delineation, and there's water running. I'm not a springs expert, but this is during a drought too. This was January 11th through February 26th. I took separate videos. This video's the pond behind the wastewater lift station that belongs to the city, which separates the two wetlands. Only an imaginary line separates the two wetlands. It's all one wetland. See the running water? It's nasty, but it's moving. That's on wetland 1. And it's always flows into the Hillsborough River. Here's into the river that's always running. Water flowing on different dates. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Gail Harris.
Thank you. I dressed appropriately for the occasion.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm a retired teacher, 36 years in Hillsborough County. I taught science. I love the environment and nature. I care about the wetlands, the trees, the animals, the plants. I live directly across the river from 6111 Rome Avenue, and I see the water every day coming down into the river. It's north of the lift station. I've been there 20 years. Please, your title is Environmental Protection. Please, it's your job to protect this environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can you please state your name for the record?
Gail K. Harris.
Allison Date. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Allison Date, and I'm a member of both Tampa Tree Advocacy Group and the Tampa Sierra Club. I initially visited this property out of concern for the imminent loss of the Grand Oaks, which are also very good at removing water from the ground. But I have since become aware of the current building practices that allow construction to occur at the expense of Tampa's beneficial wetlands and springs. The loss of these waterways endangers residents and increases water damage to current properties, as well as affecting the riverbank stability. According to the Florida Building Code, properly designed buildings and homes shouldn't cause flooding for neighbors. Construction standards typically call for the use of features to handle runoff from the property, but no matter how much higher they're built. but interpretation of this code is vague and underlies a problem.
I apologize, Ms. Date. It appears you're veering off of the evidence that was in the record. If you could
Okay,
stick to that,
I
thank you.
had the privilege of attending several Riverbend community meetings and had discussions with residents who are already experienced flooding whenever it rains. I heard stories about how and when new construction has allowed the displaced water created from raising the land and decreasing permeable ground space to cause dramatic increase in water flow from several inches to several feet in nearby properties. It is now predicted that rainstorms and hurricanes will continue to increase locally and globally. As you know, Tampa is a high-risk area for flooding and storm surge events. Please show that you're proactive in lessening damage to this community by protecting this important flow of water and the live oaks that surround it. Construction should be done in a way that preserves these important resources. This is in the best interest of the future owners, the present community, and the city of Tampa. Do not allow the destruction of these valuable natural resources. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. This closes our public comments. This time, we'll move right into approval of the consent agenda.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Have any opposed? Thank you. Okay, then we go right into our final order for the proceeding. At this time, we will conduct a final order hearing in the Grace versus 6111 Rome LLC and EPC case. I will ask our counselor, Mr. Moretti, to explain the process and give us a brief synopsis of the case.
Thank you,
morning.
Commissioners, and good morning. This is a unique hearing process where you're sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity. We don't do this frequently, so I'd like to remind you of the background of the process in the case. Appellee 611 Rome applied to the EPC for a wetland impact and mitigation permit to allow fill in wetlands for a residential development. The property is a little under 5 acres in the city of Tampa boundaries, and it's located near the intersection of Hannah and Rome Avenues, just west and immediately connected to the Hillsborough River. Specifically, they've asked to fill 0.12 acres of wetlands. That's 0.12 acres of wetlands. The EPC did issue a permit with many conditions, including the requirement to offset the impacts using a mitigation bank. Appellants Greco, Perups, Kramer, and Addison filed a challenge. They live in the vicinity, some nearby, some within about a half mile. And they filed a challenge that allows them to go to an evidentiary hearing in front of an EPC hearing officer who is a private attorney, who's a contracted attorney for the EPC. And they had an evidentiary hearing. It's conducted very much like a civil trial. And at the end of that evidentiary hearing and other filings afterwards, a recommended order is issued. And in this specific case, the hearing officer recommended that the wetland permit should issue. And that was in June of 2024. The recommended order is broken up into 3 sections: findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the recommendation section. The act allows any party that doesn't agree with some aspect of what the hearing officer did to file exceptions to those to the findings of fact or conclusions of law. But they have to point to evidence in the record that the hearing officer missed an error, not just that they testified something and the hearing officer didn't agree with them. In this case, 2 of the 4 appellants, Mr. Kramer and Mr. Greco, did file exceptions, so they're the ones that are allowed oral argument. Another appellant you heard, Ms. Perups, today just provided public comment, but she didn't file exceptions. And then after they give their oral argument, then the EPC counsel who litigated the case, not me, I was not involved with that, and 611 Rome's counsel will present their responses to those exceptions. The commission is empowered to hear this through the EPC Act, but it's important to note that the commission may not reject or modify findings of fact that are based on competent substantial evidence in the record. Moreover, you should not reweigh the evidence or judge the credibility of a witness. You're here to see if the hearing officer missed something blatantly in the record and then put it down anyway, even though it wasn't testified to or introduced into the evidence. It's a high bar. It's a very high bar to overturn findings of fact. There's also conclusions of law, and they did object to one conclusion of law. You have a little more leeway there because it's your rules you're implementing. So at this point, each party by rule has up to 10 minutes to provide oral argument regarding the exceptions. Not retry the whole case, but narrowly focus on the exceptions they put down on paper and talk about those issues. After that oral argument, the commission can ask questions of myself, of all the parties, ask me for a recommendation if they so choose, and then it's your job to issue a final order recommending reversal, modification, or adoption of the recommended order. The order of the presentation is really up to Mr. Greco and Mr. Kramer who wants to go first. And I just, again, remind everybody, no new evidence can be introduced today, no new arguments can be introduced today. And with that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to field some procedural questions.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Greco?
And if the clerk could have a 10-minute clock, we'd appreciate that. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like
Good
to
morning.
thank you. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to speak today.
Commissioner Myers, just for the
Yes.
record, I'm present and listening. I've had trouble getting in.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kemp. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to speak today. And what I'd like to say is that the wetland are nature-based assets for communities throughout Hillsborough County. And there is evidence of the proper procedures for construction around them. And it has been demonstrated through many other subdivisions that have been built in Hillsborough County. As you can see here, this is a Hillsborough County subdivision, or at least it's in the Wesley Champel area. And as you can see, the protection of the wetland here. I'm sorry. Able to see, you get it? Okay. New Tampa subdivisions are usually built around these wetlands, and that is for, it allows for a better sales price for homes because of the privacy, because of the nature that is behind your home, and it demands a higher premium in these communities. One of the things that we have in Riverbend, we have several wetlands that are in our community, if this is visible. I'll wait till that's displayed.
Staff, can you, thank you.
I think I need to go up a little bit higher. I need to go there.
It won't show.
Well, then let me roll it this way then. There. As you can see, there are several communities within our several wetlands within our community. Let's try it that way. There are several wetlands within our community, and this is the subject property right here. There are 3 other locations for wetlands, and they're all within a quarter of a mile, or at least 4/10 of a mile from the subject property. This is a wetland that had been destroyed by the owner. However, the other 3 were requested for mitigation through the EPC, and it was allowed. Each one of those has received approval for mitigation. Now, the tax dollars that we spend for the EPC for protection is really not showing benefit to this community, as we've lost. It will now be 4 wetlands that have been lost in the watershed of the river. Instead, we will be mitigating, which provides more money to EPC for the mitigation credits. The mitigation fails to provide any benefit to the original community. One of the other things I'd like to talk about was that Abigail Bridges was presented as the expert witness for the EPC and the mitigation of these wetlands. She was actually speaking about zoning issues and was considered the expert witness. However, her testimony was in error. She indicated that the property was a high-density, multi-family zoning, which is incorrect. It's actually a residential zone, which is the reason why they're asking for a rezone of the property. She actually testified under oath that she was not proficient in zoning. She also gave some testimony to transportation requirements, which no certifications were presented. She also gave testimony for fire requirements, which no certification was presented. I would like to speak a little bit about my personal qualifications only because they apply here. I worked with the city of Tampa for 12 years as a, excuse me, I held a Florida certified building license, building contractor's license. I also had a certified plans examiner license, an inspector's license, and also a mechanical inspector's license. Along with those, I had a floodplain manager's license through FEMA, or I should say certification because they don't license. And in these licensing, we were indicated by the hearing master. And what did he say about the testimony that you've heard here today and about our abilities to present? He said, and this is from the closing record, applicants' presentation of evidence was limited to their own lay testimony and did not contradict appellee's expert witness testimony by Abigail Bridges. I don't, personally, my opinion is that that's not an objective evaluation with the knowledge that comes from the community and with the certifications and abilities of others that you've heard today. So please help Riverbend preserve the natural ecosystem that currently exists in our community. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kramer?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm here today to speak to you, and thank you for having us here. I want to introduce Anna King, a neighbor who will help with the Elmo here as we move through some interesting aspects of the, thank you, some
Sir?
interesting aspects that have been
Sir?
Previously addressed erroneously.
Sir, can you state your name for the record before you?
Thank you. Yes,
go
I
on?
can.
Thank you.
Henry Kramer. I was about to introduce myself. Thank you. My name is Henry Kramer, and I represent the Riverbend Neighborhood Civic Association as a member of the board and as the president. I also am a resident and property owner at 5933 North Rome Avenue, which is adjacent to the southeast of the subject property. After the first week of November 2023, the neighborhood appealed, sent in 9 appeals to the EPC appealing the authorization. 6 were accepted. We reduced that number to 4 so that we might have a 611, what we call our RCA 6111 committee that provided research and investigations, arranging environmental groups, attorneys, environmental scientists, and other professionals to meet with us on a weekly basis. We additionally relied on the 2015 encyclical of Pope Francis, Laudato Si, which translates as praise to you, my Lord. This speaks in modern terms to the care of the planet and is inspired by the writings of St. Francis of Assisi, who is recognized by many as the patron saint of ecology. In our efforts to save the wetland from total destruction and potentially devastating impact on surrounding neighbors, we felt like we've been stifled and hamstrung along the way by the EPC rules and limitations. So we've struggled with how to present to you today. But I want to first of all point out that since the first quarter of 2023, we worked with we understood at the purchase of 6111 by Mize Sefer and the rezone request, became familiar with their tactics and their tendencies, along with Stearns Weaver, their attorneys, and their attempts to influence outcomes. Understanding the mission and values of the EPC, we felt like we would be well represented by the organization that's charged with protecting the public. We expected an ally and not an adversary in the EPC. So our efforts, we felt stifled along the way due to the EPC rules limitations, such as the application of only 11107, 11108, and 11109 in terms of the wetland rules. All those rules were available for the initial appeal and were whinnied down. So we've struggled with how to present to you today, to the executive director, the governing body, and those whose determinations and decisions are critical to help ensure the entire planet is protected. Little changes can make a big difference. We recognize that this time of great change in the climate, the environment, and the planet, superior leadership, and a critical understanding of the ramifications of poor decision-making will impact us for a long time. One of the additional problems was for us in our presentation at the hearing officer, which was originally scheduled for 8 hours. That was cut down to 4 hours on a motion made by the attorneys for Stearns Weaver. We didn't quite know how to rebut that. We felt like maybe that was going to be enough time. However, as Ms. Lee correctly points out, we presented 10 or 11 exhibits at the hearing, while we had 33 that we wanted to present. We did not get to those, to the others, and there was no extension offered for us to continue later. So we need to be very careful today here on what we present, because most of our evidence that we've uncovered was not presented at that time. So we'll speak primarily to the details of the joint exhibits. Excuse me. Improper responses or incomplete responses were also a problem for us as we put in interrogatories and requests for information that were objected to or denied because there was a reference to Wetland 2. We were instructed that Wetland 2 was not under consideration here. It was an impact on Wetland 1 only. However, you'll see in what we're about to present that the distinction between Wetland 1 and Wetland 2.
Thank you so much. The time is up.
That's 5 minutes I had.
We have
He
2.
gets 10 minutes. I think that he has more
Yeah.
time.
What's that?
You have more time, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, this was said at 5 minutes.
Okay.
That's my error. That was not clear if this was the original speaker from beforehand or the present.
So we have 10 minutes now?
5 more.
5.
5 minutes, okay. So, okay, it's down to 5 minutes. Okay, I see. I saw that 5-minute piece, and I said, something's wrong here. But at any rate, we need to be careful about what we present. So, and we were fortunate in our investigations to find about the community-based, the nature-based solutions program that USF has put into place with NBS. This is an international program that's come to the city of Tampa to challenge and look at the urban Hillsborough River problems. Those problems that are noted are the stormwater runoff is the primary cause of the watershed pollution, picking up harmful pollutants, trash and chemicals and sediment that can deposit into the Hillsborough River. This has significant negative impacts, including excess nitrate, phosphorus, and heavy metals in the waterways, leading to eutrophication and hypoxic conditions. This is the very thing that wetlands protect from. Some sections of the Hillsborough River, particularly in the downtown area, have low riverbank and are subject to bank erosion. So these are the nice sites that are being addressed by the NBS and the USF program. These are all within a quick kayak paddle from the 6111 property. Riverside Garden Park, Water Tower Park, and Rowlett Park. These are all wetland restorations or wetland constructions that are going to take place. They are taking place. We've met with these guys. We've worked with them. We've given them opportunities at our docks to access these places. Solutions to the problem, the old way, as described by nature-based solutions, is to build a wall, use riprap, or construct large retention ponds that are then have to be fenced off for the public safety. These are archaic methods. Solutions, the new solutions are by nature-based solutions, are to act to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystems that address societal changes effectively and adaptively. This is community input and solving nature problems interactively and in a process of saving the wetlands. Now, I'd like to address and come back to the 8/28/23 RAI response that was given by the Merriman Environmental to Ms. Bridges' inquiries. I'll take you to item number 4, if I may, and we all of a sudden talk about proposed ponds to put on the, to satisfy the impact on the land. I'll take you to item 5, which now talks about the runoff, which is currently only on the property. There is no runoff that comes onto that property from elsewhere. The understanding previously through this convoluted process was that there was water coming from Armenia and upland. It doesn't. That's been shut off some 50, 60 years ago. But so, at any rate, the point here is that now we're talking about riprap being applied to the property. So of the 3 nature-based solutions that are considered archaic, riprap, ponds, and we know there's a wall going in, these are all what the client or the developer wants to put on this property. This is not in our best interest to see this as we move forward. We know that the requirements for the future are to have great leadership, as we spoke about. But from here on, you can also take a look back to, no, we're going to go back to the same 2 items, the Merriman piece. These 3 ponds total 7,000 square feet. There were 4 in the original piece that totaled 12,000 square feet. In an effort to increase tree retention, they had to minimize the number of ponds. They did not lose units, but they lost 5,000 square feet of retention area. 2 ponds to be located on top of exactly where Wetland 1 sits. Do we know the capacity of Wetland 1? No, we know the lineal definitions, or the length and width, just as we know of the ponds, but we don't know how deep that thing is. And I can tell you that it's deep, it's dark, it's dank, and it's effective in handling the water that's moving from the premises. Now we will have 2 new shallow ponds built on at the same location, with only 4-foot deep retention areas that would be asked to handle and cleanse all kinds of nasty roof, road, and driveway runoff that will be generated on the property from these 45 units. That's what's going to have to go through what was Wetland 1, through the riprap, through to Wetland 2, and into the river. That's a mess. Another confusing contrast that takes place in this Merriman piece is that...
Sir, your time is up. Thank you so much.
That's a shame. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you'll be able to understand the negative impacts that are taking place here and act accordingly in a
Okay,
renovation
counsel,
of the
for 6111 Rome.
It appears the EPC council would like to go
Yeah,
first.
Okay, EPC counsel, okay.
Excuse me, is it still 10 minutes for the speaker, too?
Correct, 10 minutes for the speaker and 10 for the next, if they so use that much.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Beth Lee, representing the EPC Executive Director and staff in this final order hearing today. I will be presenting EPC's response to the filed exceptions by Mr. Greco and Mr. Kramer in this matter. As Mr. Marotti stated earlier, there was an evidentiary hearing, a civil trial, essentially, on May 13th, 2024, in which the hearing officer heard the similar evidence that was presented to you by the appellants today. The hearing officer weighed the evidence and made reasonable inferences based on the record, producing the recommended order with the findings of fact and the conclusions of law. For the findings of fact, the Commission authority is limited by Chapter 1-2 of the EPC rules, in which that you may only reject or modify the findings of fact when not supported by competent substantial evidence. So what is competent substantial evidence? As some of you may know, substantial competent evidence is such relevant evidence as a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. It's important to distinguish that it does not matter that there may be competent substantial evidence to support alternative findings of fact, only whether the hearing officer's findings of fact in his recommended order were supported by the competent and substantial evidence. An example of this is kind of what we've heard today. A witness may testify that a car is red, and another witness may testify that the car is blue. It's both witnesses' testimony meets competent substantial evidence, but it's for the hearing officer to consider that evidence presented resolve the conflicts between the testimony, judge the credibility of those witnesses, and reach the ultimate findings of fact. As such, the reviewing agency, here the Commission, should not reweigh the evidence at the final order hearing. Because of this, it is a high threshold to modify the findings of fact. In his filed exceptions and stated today, Mr. Greco argues that many of the findings of fact should be rejected or modified based on the other facts in the record. This is essentially asking the Commission to reweigh the evidence. Specifically, findings of fact 1, 5, 9, and 10 are supported by the record by the joint pre-hearing stipulations agreed to by all the parties and filed with the hearing officer in April of 2024 prior to the evidentiary hearing. Further, Abigail Bridges was accepted as an expert witness in the application of EPC rules and provided testimony of her review of the subject application relating to her site inspection, the wetland characteristics, EPC review criteria, and ultimate issuance of the impact permit. Her testimony, in addition to the stipulated pre-hearing stipulations, supports findings of fact 5, 9, and 10, in addition to all the other findings of fact challenged by Mr. Greco. The pre-hearing stipulations and Ms. Bridges' testimony constitute competent substantial evidence. Because it's not appropriate for the Commission to reweigh the evidence, and competent substantial evidence supports the findings of fact, the Commission should affirm these findings. Next, Mr. Greco's filed exceptions identifies a conclusion of law for your consideration to modify. Conclusions of law are based on the hearing officer's application of the existing law and rules to the facts found in the record. EPC Chapter 1-2 empowers the Commission to make appropriate conclusions of law. It's important to understand, though, that conclusions of law do not have to be the only reasonable interpretation. It is enough for them to be the permissible ones. Mr. Greco challenges conclusion of law in paragraph 40 of the recommended order by stating the professional backgrounds of the appellants, as you heard today. While true, the appellants were not accepted as expert witnesses in their professional fields. Further, Mr. Greco does not provide a legal dispute to the appellant's burden of proof contained in this conclusion of law. Under EPC Rules, Chapter 1-2, the applicant has the initial burden of showing entitlement to the permit. This initial burden is called the prima facie case and is appropriately summarized in Conclusion of Law 41, which was not challenged by Mr. Greco or other appellants. Looking to Chapter 120 Florida statutes for procedural guidance, after the prima facie case is met, the burden shifts to the appellants who have the ultimate burden of persuasion. This has been determined in case law to mean the appellant must demonstrate how the applicant is not entitled to the permit through contrary evidence of equivalent quality. Although, along with the introduction of the permit application and additional documentary evidence at the beginning of the hearing in May, Ms. Bridges' expert witness testimony demonstrated 6111 Rome's entitlement to the permit and shifted the burden onto Mr. Greco and the other appellants. The appellants did not offer any expert testimony contradicting the evidence presented by EPC and Rome. The hearing officer's interpretation made in the conclusion of Law 40 is a permissible interpretation because it's based on competent substantial evidence in the record and a reasonable interpretation of the controlling law related to the appellant's burden. As such, we request the Commission affirm the conclusions of law without modification. Lastly, I want to briefly provide a response to Mr. Kramer's filed exceptions. For purposes of procedure and based on the point in time that they were filed, we are identifying them as exceptions. However, as Mr. Marotti stated, they are supposed to identify specific findings of facts and conclusions of law and state to the record. After his presentation today, all arguments made were considered by the hearing officer. We simply respond that all the findings of fact and conclusions of findings of fact in the recommended order are based on substantial competent evidence, and the Commission should not reweigh the evidence at this point in time. We also request the Commission to ignore any additional facts in the filing that were not found in the record and accepted by the hearing officer. Lastly, Mr. Kramer, along with the other appellants, were afforded a meaningful opportunity at the evidentiary hearing to present evidence and testify. Specifically, Mr. Kramer had 2 different opportunities to provide testimony and submit the documentary evidence. In conclusion, EPC respectfully requests the Commission adopt the findings of fact and affirm the conclusions of law in the hearing officer's recommended order. Thank you.
Thank you. Counsel for 6111 Rome. Good morning.
Good morning, Commission. For the record, Kevin Reale with Stearns Weaver Miller Law Firm for the applicant 6111 Rome LLC. I concur with everything that EPC Counsel presented. It matches our joint filing. I'm not going to repeat those. I just want to offer a couple different perspectives for the hearing today, because as mentioned by your counsel, this is a little bit different than what you're normally reviewing. The applicants in this case are pro se, which is totally appropriate. There's nothing wrong with that. But through this process, which has been described as basically a civil trial, they've been given broad leeway into dealing with relevance and findings and rules of evidence and the like. For example, something was said today about a request to reduce time. That was never made by the applicant's counsel. Our office did not request to reduce time. That was the hearing officer following hearing officer's procedure in doing that on his own. And then another example today would be Mr. Kramer's testimony, which focused mostly on stormwater retention techniques and construction techniques, and not the issue at hand, which is dealing with the wetland impact. EPC staff also acted professionally despite the comments you heard today. They are charged with representing the public, but also doing their job and following the act. And so through this whole process, a wide leeway has been given to the appellants here. But this is the end of the road. We can't widen the guardrails here. We need you all at the end of this process to stay on the track. And so first, starting with Mr. Kramer, his exceptions that he filed, they don't even constitute exceptions under the act, frankly. They don't comply with the EPC rules. They don't cite to the record. They don't challenge findings of facts or conclusions of law. And as you heard today, he was mostly challenging development techniques, not the impact to the wetland. He's asking you to reweigh the evidence and make conclusions that are not in the record or already decided by the hearing officer. Similar, Mr. Greco's filing, while more appropriate from a procedural standpoint, refers to facts that are either stipulated or already clearly in black and white in the record, and therefore shouldn't be disturbed. The appellants all had an opportunity to provide expert testimony. They chose not to. In fact, the hearing officer allowed them to rely on the EPC's expert and to question them. Of course, they have the opportunity to depose and cross-examine, but to use them in a way to present rather than just as a cross-examination. And so for the reasons that EPC counsel already stated, it's inappropriate to overturn any of that today. The other appellants didn't file exceptions, and really their public comment today, everyone is asking you to reweigh the facts, but that's not what you're here to do today. So we request that you not disturb the recommended order. And in closing, just very briefly, you all sit in a quasi-judicial setting as the Board of County Commissioners all the time. My firm, and myself, we appear in front of you and often are bringing you land use cases under the quasi-judicial rules. But this is different because in those situations, you're acting more as the trial judge. You're considering facts, you're weighing evidence, you're comparing the ZHM to the staff, to the applicant, and to the neighborhood testimony. Here, your quasi-judge is more like an appellant role. You are not reviewing facts and not considering evidence or weighing credibility. And so, that role is just so much more narrow. And so, as counsel has already explained to you, we ask that you stay within those bounds and affirm the order. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that we've heard the parties, does the counsel for the commission have a recommendation?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, and I want to make sure I address a few points. Without a doubt, I want to make sure you understand there was mention of live oak trees in the public comment portion of this proceeding. We don't regulate live oak trees in uplands. That is not part of our purview, so I don't make sure that's not part of your decision making. There was references to stormwater, and as you heard from the council, we do not regulate stormwater at the EPC. That's a county issue and a state issue. Also, to make it abundantly clear, you heard it once, but Mr. Kramer did a direct testimony, and the hearing officer actually let him come up and do a second direct testimony. So I saw no issues in the record about timeliness issues. He brought someone back to do a second direct. That's very, uncommon, and it was very generous of the hearing officer to give more time. So with that, commissioners, and then one last point, there was a reference to the EPC benefiting somehow for getting money for mitigation. We do not have any financial benefit from when mitigation banks. That's a direct relationship between the developer and the mitigation bank. That's nothing to the EPC's benefit. So with those additional points, you've heard the oral arguments from all the parties, commissioners. You've seen the documents in the agenda. At this time, it appears very clear that there was competent substantial evidence in the record for all the findings of fact from the hearing officer and the matter of the conclusion of law. So my recommendation would be to reject the appellant's exceptions, accept and approve the hearing officer's recommendation to issue a 5-year wetland impact permit. I did note 3 Scrivener's errors I'd like to put into the record real quick that could be corrected. Finding of fact number 33, there's a reference to transcript page 29 when it should be transcript page 59, 59. Conclusion of law number 9, there's a reference to a rule 1-11.012B when it really should be 1-11.022B. And then finally, conclusion of law number 29, there's the word offside with a D, it should be offsite with a T. These are all minor Scrivener's errors, don't have any impact on the hearing officer's ruling. So with that, Commissioners, I would recommend issuance of a final order approving the recommended order as is with these minor Scrivener's errors and allowing the chair to sign off on the final order, reflecting your vote.
Thank you. I see no one in the queue.
Madam Chair, I have my hand raised.
Commissioner Woolston, I see you. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had I had one question that was stated by Attorney Bell for the EPC. I believe she said, unless the audio was breaking out, quote, that Abigail Bridges was not accepted as expert witness. And if that was said, I'm just confused because she's clearly listed as an expert witness on today's agenda.
Good morning, Commissioner. Beth Lee with the EPC. I may have misspoke, but the intention was to state that Abigail Bridges was accepted as an expert witness.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that up for the record then. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay. We have a motion. Commissioner Watson, your hand's still up? Commissioner Corn.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation. I think it was very clear from the different testimony that was given today that we are in a very, very narrow lane here in terms of what we are allowed to consider. And while I heard some what sounded like very compelling concerns raised during the public comment, I just don't think we are under the way that our powers are delineated. We just are not permitted to open up the facts of this matter in making this decision today, and that's why I make this motion.
We have a second? Oh, you want to speak? Okay, Commissioner
Yes.
Cepeda.
I'd just like to say I agree with the EPC Council, and I will second that also.
Okay.
Commissioner Myers, can you hear me?
Yes, I was looking to see if your hand was
Hello?
up. Go ahead, Commissioner Kemp. I couldn't see it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't have any screen. But I would just say that I understand also the posture that we're in and what we face vis-a-vis, for instance, a typical zoning. But I will not support a waiver for this wetland.
Okay, I see no other comments. Please record your vote.
My vote is no.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, moving right along to item 9A on the public hearing. Commission, the following public hearing is regarding rulemaking. It has been properly noticed in the newspaper as required by Section 5 of the EPC Act. Ms. Long, will you now introduce the presenter? Good morning.
Yes, Commissioner. We're going to be bringing up Dessa Clock for this public hearing to consider amendments to the basis of review for authorization of activities pursuant to Chapter 1-11, Wetlands, Chapter 3 and 5. Dessa?
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you all for the opportunity to present to you today on the proposed rule revisions. My name is Dessa Clock, and I'm a permitting supervisor in the Wetlands Division. At the January EPC meeting, Wetlands Division informed the Commission that we would be conducting rule revisions to the basis of review. Since then, staff have worked with stakeholders to address feedback and to keep them informed throughout this process. EPC held 2 public workshops in June that were well attended. And notice of today's hearing was posted in the Tampa Bay Times on July 31st. We also sent multiple email notifications with the draft rules, and we noticed this public workshop and our public hearing in those notifications. Next, we would like to go through a brief history of the EPC's basis of review. The basis of review was adopted in 2008 by the Commission, and amendments were adopted to Chapter 5 in May of 2021 and May of 2022. Since the revised rule was implemented, staff and stakeholders have noted a few areas that could be clarified. So today, the proposed rule amendments are limited to Chapter 3 and Chapter 5. Chapter 3 contains criteria for wetlands and other surface water impact proposals. And Chapter 5 contains review criteria for miscellaneous activities in wetlands, or MAIWs for short. These are projects that are of nominal consequence to the wetlands, and therefore they do not require wetland impact reviews, nor do they require mitigation. Please be advised, if a project does not qualify for an MAIW, then the applicant may still apply for a wetland impact review with mitigation. These proposed rule amendments address feedback received from stakeholders regarding the application of rule language, and they also clarify criteria for activities reviewed, provide consistency with other governmental agencies, and encourage living shoreline projects. Chapter 3 of the basis of review is entitled Conditions for Issuance or Denial, and includes criteria for wetland or other surface water impacts. The proposed amendments focus on addressing cumulative impacts as it relates to adequate protection under subsection 3.3. Cumulative impacts must be considered as described in section 1-11.09(2) rules of the EPC. To clarify this process and provide consistency with the state's cumulative impact consideration, the amendments incorporate language from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's wetland permitting rules located within their DEP's applicant handbook. Now back to Chapter 5. As a reminder, miscellaneous activities in wetlands projects are of nominal consequence to the wetland. These activities include docks or vegetation removal, and they do not require cumulative impacts as described in section 1-11.09(2) rules of the EPC. Therefore, this sentence has been added to Chapter 5 miscellaneous activities in wetlands introduction to clarify this concept. In 2022, based on stakeholder feedback and support from the Commission, we reorganized a subsection titled Native-Based Solutions, currently proposed as living shorelines. That includes natural shorelines and hybrid shorelines. These revisions were made to identify criteria for such activities, including breakwaters and soil confinement technology. These materials are often necessary to enhance the survivability of vegetation and to protect them from wave action. This new set of revisions expands the section to clearly define objectives of living shorelines and the components that may be necessary for successful designs, such as sills. We have also modified terms to be more consistent with other governmental agencies. The main purpose of reworking this section is to encourage living shoreline enhancement activities along natural water bodies such as the Hillsborough River. The shoreline stabilization section also includes criteria for seawall replacements. Here, we needed to clarify limits of wetland impacts that could be authorized through a miscellaneous activity seawall replacement. If wetlands or other surface waters have developed immediately landward of an existing seawall, then no more than 500 square feet of wetland or other surface waters shall be filled for the replacement of that seawall. Now, this is only limited to a miscellaneous activities and wetlands review. The replacement of a seawall with more significant fill to a wetland may be appropriate, but it would just need to be reviewed and permitted through a wetland impact and mitigation authorization. In the 2021 rule amendments, EPC created the exempt activities section, which identified activities that are of nominal consequence to the wetland and require limited review or have little potential environmental impacts. Many of our exemptions deal with maintenance, replacement, and repairs. For example, exemption 4 allows for the renourishment of previously permitted riprap. The proposed rule revision would add renourishment of previously permitted living shoreline projects. And this is to ensure and encourage that those living shoreline projects continue to be successful. Based on stakeholder feedback and similar to existing state exemptions, we also created 2 new exemptions that allow for geotechnical investigations and the replacement of existing utility poles and similar structures. In conclusion, the revised rule language is to address the feedback from the regulated community and other stakeholders, to clarify the application of certain criteria, and provide consistency with state and local governmental agencies. These rule amendments clarify ongoing practices to afford the applicant a better understanding of the rule criteria, saving time and increasing permitting efficiencies. The increased specificity improves and streamlines the process so that project submittals will have more detailed guidance on what qualifies for a permit or exemption. And just as a final reminder, if the project does not qualify for an MAIW, then the applicant may still apply for a wetland impact review with mitigation. Our staff recommendation is to adopt the proposed rule amendments to Chapter 3 and 5 of the basis of review that are included in the agenda and authorize staff to correct any typographical errors. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Board discussion?
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Watts, your hand just popped up after I asked. Go ahead.
No worries, thank you. Just in the general conversation, I think that this is wetland mitigations is a very timely conversation considering all of the horrific pictures and flooding that we've seen down to our neighbors to the south, and just an overall, I mean, most people don't even know that this EPC was created by a special act of the legislature in 1967, and we're the only county, I think, with this additional added layer of protection. For anyone interested in the topic, this county spends an additional $20 million a year of property taxes voluntarily in this regard. So I hope that we're doing it a little better than our neighbors. But even in the case that we just heard, I'm talking about wetland mitigation banks and allowing folks to buy credits, and then the wetland mitigation gets put up in, I think in this case, it was way up in Polk County. And I just don't know, is this going to address, I saw the several requirements for them to get to purchase these wetland mitigations. And I just want to know is it all about costs? And it's like, well, it's cheaper for them to just pay for it in Polk. Well, of course it is, because the land in Polk is cheaper than Hillsborough. And then that's all that they're required to do. And instead of saying, no, there is an available local mitigation in Hillsborough County that's much closer to this land. And this is how we prevent flooding that has caused in Sarasota. So, like, what are the process about this wetland mitigation bank and requirements and waivers, and what are the weights that are going to that, I guess?
Good morning, Commissioners, and I think that's an excellent question, Commissioner Wustel. What these rules are doing, and my name's Michael Lynch. I'm the Director of Wetlands for EPC.
Hi, Mr. Lynch.
So, Commissioner Wustel, as I was saying, excellent question. What these rules are doing are clarifying how we deal with cumulative impact. So it's giving more detail that if you do mitigate within a basin area, it is addressing cumulative impact, meaning we're taking something from an area and we're replacing it in that same area. In addition, it's giving explanation. If you go outside of that basin area per se, you're going to have to explain a benefit to the area you're taking it from. So these rules are actually giving, that portion of these rules are giving more criteria, more guidelines in that area, which is a good thing and addresses what you're talking about. In addition, I think something else that's important to point out is that we're expanding natural shorelines. We're telling people we do encourage it, we think it's a good thing, but we're not telling a resident what to put on their property, but we're giving them more tools to have more choices. And hopefully that results in more natural shorelines. So I look at these rules as they're a positive to the county and they're a positive to our stakeholders and residents.
Commissioner Myers, if I could answer the question also.
Sure.
Just add to it. Commissioner Wustel, you asked about what are the considerations for mitigation. There's many considerations. It's not just cost. Sometimes the person is impacting a mangrove. Sometimes they're impacting a salt flat. Sometimes they're impacting fresh water. So it depends on what bank is available in a certain region. And if no one's selling mangrove credits, we might have to go to a different nearby county. And state law prohibits local governments from not allowing someone to go outside of the county. That's a preemption.
I see. There's a preemption.
Exactly,
Okay.
there's a preemption. And then just to make it clear, not everything goes to mitigation banks. First of all, we push hard to minimize impacts. Even in the case you just heard, we got them to minimize impacts in half on the final order hearing you just heard. We're always pushing to minimize impacts and looking for on-site creation before we, and so that's another opportunity. So they might be using another piece of their land to build a wetland. So there's a lot of different things as opposed to just going right to banking.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Kemp, second by Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carried 6-0.
Okay, we're right at the
Thank you,
regular agenda.
Dessa. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you all again.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay. On the regular agenda,
Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to move to 9A. I'm sorry, 10A.
10A.
10A, I apologize. We've abbreviated our scheduling to 4 meetings a year, so it's January, April, August, and October. And so typically in October is the review evaluation process. So Ms. DeLu will tell you about that process, especially for Commissioner Miller, who's a new commissioner to the process.
okay, good morning, Elaine.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Your mic's off. There you go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Per the Executive Director's Employment Agreement, the Commission is to evaluate the performance of the EPC Executive Director, Janet Lorton. This occurs annually in October and coincides with the presentation of the agency's annual report. In preparation for the annual evaluation, the commission receives a performance evaluation form, which was in your agenda backup, and I did email that yesterday as well. The executive director will provide a self-evaluation to assist in measuring her performance, and she welcomes meeting in person with any commissioner. So if you can please complete the evaluation form and return it to me by September 30th, the results will be compiled and available at the next EPC Commission meeting in October.
And I'd just like to state that Ms. Lawton's contract is set to expire next year in 2025. Historically, the chairperson meets with the executive director and brings forth a recommendation to this board. So I would like to take this opportunity to meet with Ms. Lawton and bring back a recommendation at our October meeting.
Do you need a motion for that, or are you
I
just?
think so, yes.
We did last time.
Let's do a
Second.
motion. A motion and a second would
Okay,
be
I'm
for the
fine with that.
record.
So moved.
And I second it. I thought he moved it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposers? That motion is carried. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Ms.
you,
Lawton.
thank you, Commissioners. And with that, Commissioner, we'll move to the Executive Director Report. If you could pull up my slides, it's just a few quick slides from our April meeting about what the agency's actions have been.
Commissioner.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner
Yes,
Kemp.
Commissioner Meyer. So I had heard, and I don't know if you're going to do it in the report, but I want to make sure it's addressed. Is, you know, our meetings, these meetings were moved, even though they were moved 4 times a year, they were moved to 10 in the morning instead of 9. And I would really prefer to have them back at 9. It would be, and I just wonder about other commissioners. I don't know if there's any other comments to be had about that.
Commissioner
Makes no
Coyne.
difference to me. Whatever's the pleasure.
Commissioner wants to.
Yeah, and I'll say this not to be or sound disrespectful at all, but is a schedule change. Just all of the commissioners, except for the one wanting to change, is definitely going to be here after November. So I don't want schedule changes just to be based off of this one person that we know won't be here in 3 months.
Sorry, not
Clerk's
to-
office.
Yes, sorry, not to interrupt. Commissioner Wostel, on that last vote, we didn't hear a yes. Did you confirm yes or no on that vote?
Yes, on the executive director's review?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner, may I add, the one thing I might recommend is, as after October, we might consider making it earlier, because what I have seen from some of the commissioners is that they have plans at lunch that back up, and so if this hearing had gone a little bit longer, it may have been an issue. And so whether it's 9:30 or 9 or whatever, moving it earlier may actually be a benefit for a quorum. But
Yes.
it's up to the board. Maybe we talk about it in October, because we have to get with the clerk's office to do the scheduling anyway for the next year.
Or we can put the clerk's office on notice. I would like to go at 9 myself. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Continue on.
Slides, please. Next slide. Commissioners, on April 18th, EPC participated in EcoFest at Mosey for Earth Day. This major event is the official Earth Day celebration for the city of Tampa, and it attracts hundreds of people. Next slide. On April 22nd, the EPC, along with Commissioner Myers, shared Earth Day with students at the faculty at Claremelle Elementary School in Tampa, where we had the honor of planting a tree for Arbor Day in memory of Carlos Lopez, who was their beloved head custodian who had passed away last year. And I leave this slide up. I'd like to mention, can you go back to the following slide, that his wife, who was in this picture in the forefront in the gray shirt, was custodian of another elementary school and took over so she could be at this school and in the office that her husband had served in for decades. Thank you. Next slide, please. On April 26, EPC, along with Commissioner Cohen, participated in the 4th annual Great Port Cleanup. During this year's event, pictured here, over 1,000 volunteers removed over 100,000 pounds of trash and debris from Tampa Bay waters. Next slide. On May 2nd, EPC hosted our largest event of the year, the annual Clean Air Fair at William Poe Plaza in downtown Tampa. This event draws hundreds of people to meet, learn, and interact with environmental organizations from all over the Bay Area. Next slide. To celebrate America's Wetland Month, EPC hosted 2 wetland walks at Hillsborough County's at Alderman Ford Nature Preserve and Lettuce Lake Park. The events were at all, that's it? I already repeated the thing. So that's where the events were. They're nice. It's open to the public. Next slide, please. On May 6th, the Southeast chapter of, this is a mouthful, the North American Hazardous Materials Management Association, called NAMA, held its annual conference at the USF Embassy Suites in Tampa. Staff from the Waste Division Small Quantity Generator and Hazardous Waste SQG program took a lead role in this conference. Next slide, please. On May 8th, EPC hosted the quarterly EPA Task Force meeting, which featured 2 FDE speakers, giving an overview on their compliance inspection program, focusing on air and water facilities. Next slide, please. On May 9th and 10th, EPC staff Kim Tapley and Michelle Jenkins attended the local 2024 Regional Resiliency Summit. Next slide, please. On May 16th and 17th, the EPC participated in the Living Shoreline Workshop for Marine Contractors, with Kim Tapley of our Wetlands Division serving as one of the instructors. Next slide, please. On June 4th, EPC participated in the annual Great Goliath Grouper Count. EPC scientists Brett Urson and Chrissy Martinez, pictured here from our Water Division, visited 2 of the artificial reefs that EPC maintains in Tampa Bay to count Goliath grouper while assessing the health of our reefs. Next slide, please. On June 11th, EPC participated in Commissioner Gwen Meyer's town hall meeting at Cypress Creek Elementary School in Ruskin. Next slide, please. On June 17th, alongside Commissioners Gwen Myers, Harry Cohen, Donna Cameron Cepeda, and Congresswoman Kathy Castor, EPC honored Juneteenth by attending a Juneteenth flag-raising ceremony here at the County Center in downtown Tampa. Next slide, please. On July 15th, EPC staff Jerry Javier and Michael Guile participated in an environmental harbor tour sponsored by the Port of Tampa. It was just a great educational event. I attended as well. Next slide, please. On June 15th, EPC and Code Enforcement welcomed Commissioner Christine Miller and provided an overview of our agency and services. Next slide, please. On July 24th, EPC participated in Commissioner Joshua Woostel's town hall in Town and Country. Next slide. In front of everybody, I put the CPM graduation ceremony. This is just an amazing program, but on August 8th, 4 of our staff members from EPC received their Certified Public Manager certifications after training in the Florida State University program as part of our management development and succession planning for the agency. Like to thank and congratulate Nicole Garcia, Michael Guile, Amanda Mosley, and Cody Winter for their hard work and dedication. This is a great program. Joe Gross had 2 individuals go through. This gentleman from the clerk went through last year, and he said it's just an amazing program, and we plan to continue it. Next slide, please. And commissioners, that concludes the slides. Our next meeting will be October 17th, unless you have any questions, and or future discussion items.
Thank you so much, Janet. Any questions? Any future items? Hearing none. Good morning. We adjourn. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.